we are filming a breakdown for Clara. And then the next video is...
Guys, we need the Clara stands to rise.
Rise.
Rise for the national anthem.
Today, we are breaking down Clara.
Clara's it has a very special spot in my heart.
Yeah. This song is such a funny one for me because I love it to death, but it still isn't necessarily top.
I understand that. I think if I had to rank it, it would sit like in the
top to middle
half.
That's how I feel too. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I don't feel so passionately and strongly, like to a point where it's concerning that no one else is talking about this song. Like,
yeah, I think
what is up with that?
It's one of those songs that's just like so important.
So important. It's like Mirrorball.
But then like you have those songs that you just love so deeply that like simply something has to go above it, even though you don't want anything to go above it because it's so important.
Well, yeah, and I think because Clara is touching on Taylor's experience in the industry, and I guess just the female experience in the industry. I wouldn't say it's like a super relatable song, so maybe some people feel like, you know, it's not a song you're going to listen to help process your emotions, although I actually do feel like this song is a very emotional song. So there's two songs on this album that guaranteed to make me tear up if I'm listening to it alone in my own time, and it's Clara and So Long London.
Yes.
And I just feel like even though this story might not be the most relatable, I think that the emotion in it is relatable, kind of like Nothing New. I feel like those two, and The Lucky One even, like those songs carry this very intense emotion that is relatable just as a woman, I think, for every woman.
Totally. I think that it's no matter how you've been impacted by, I guess, misogyny or just the patriarchy, this song can resonate with you as a feeling, even if the physical elements of it don't actually, like, we're not all in the music industry, you know?
Yeah.
And I think as well, like, even if that wasn't a factor, I think that we all just have such a parasocial relationship with Taylor Swift that understanding what makes her get in her feels outside of a relationship, I think it always holds importance for us as big fans, even if we don't resonate with the message necessarily. Well, that's actually wrong because we do resonate with the message, but like, you know, I think you know what I mean.
I think that it's, you know, songs like this, songs like Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, where Taylor does give us that insight into how she feels about being this pop star.
Yeah.
It hits hard. Knowing how she feels, I just find so deeply valuable and vulnerable and beautiful and important, and this song is so important for that reason. And I actually do not understand how she wrote this song. Like, the storytelling in it and the way that it all wraps up, it's so intelligent, it's so thought out in the most perfect way. Like, this is a masterpiece of a song.
It is something that I love about this song coming on this particular album too, is that it kind of breaks out of the relationship narrative, but I think still really speaks to the tortured poet narrative of the album.
Yes.
In some way, it's an explanation as to why she feels tortured herself.
I agree.
So I think coming on this album particularly makes so much sense. It makes sense to me that we haven't had this song before now. And I think that that's also really evident in obviously the outro of the song, which we will be talking about.
Yeah.
You know, she needed to be at this level of fame
As
and
and
have this
status.
This longevity in the industry to really see it for what it is and how that's impacted her and how the industry cycles through people and particularly women.
Totally. I think it is that next step in the story of The Lucky One and Nothing New.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that both of those songs are on the Red album, and then Tortured Poets and Red have a lot of similarities. It means so much, this song.
It does. You know, it's actually really fascinating because ever since Red, she actually kind of has given us songs that deal with her experience with fame. And this album actually contains a few. There's a few.
There's, some good ones.
Which is a lot. Like, it's not just one.
No, it's not. And also, this is the album ender, the album closer, of the main album.
Yeah.
Which I do think is a beautiful way to close out the album.
Yeah, me too.
It's just perfect. It's so reflective and introspective, but at the same time touches on the entire industry and I guess all of this history over like 100 years. It's quite insane.
It is quite insane. No, I need to pause. I need to pause. Guys, this is an Aaron song.
It is.
Not obvious?
No.
Not obvious.
No, we thought it was a jacket first.
Yeah, and honestly, like this very first, like it's coming from the depths.
It's coming from the depths.
There's no like...
It's ambient. He does
It's
love...
so Aaron.
Yeah, it is. He loves a little long note.
Yes.
And we realise that the Bolter has that as well.
Yes, it's like...
Violet counts.
Yeah, it's and I even think that like sometimes he does the...
Yes, he loves a tap as well.
That's in a few songs as well.
Yeah.
He's just so... And it's always before like the real instruments come in.
Yeah.
Should have known this was Aaron.
Is a deeply offensive electric guitar.
No, the electric guitar in this song is honestly part of what makes it so special for me.
Absolutely agree.
We love a Taylor Swift electric guitar song. Sometimes it's not obvious because when you hear electric guitar, you think, and that's not what we mean. No. That is not what we mean.
No. This is like the same way that like "'Tis the Damn Season" is an offensive electric guitar song. So beautiful. No, it's perfect.
You look like Clara in this light, remarkable all your life. Did you know you'd be picked like a rose?
No, it's so superior. I actually cannot handle this song.
I understand.
Even the way she's talking in this first verse, it's so... How does she get that energy where she's like, she's talking to someone for the first time? You look like... You can actually get the Clara Bow. Like, it's so like... You can imagine... It's visual. I don't know how to explain it, but you can imagine someone saying this to a girl.
Yes. What I love about this verse too is that there's so many different ways to take who's being spoken to. In the same breath, though, it almost doesn't matter because it's all the same narrative regardless. Like, you could take this as just someone in the industry saying this to another young girl who's up and coming.
Yeah.
You could say it as someone saying it to Taylor Swift directly. Like, when she first entered, someone was like, wow, you look like Clara Bow.
Yeah.
Or it could be this progressive narrative of someone telling Stevie Nicks that she looks like Clara Bow, and then, you know, so on throughout the song.
It goes on.
Which
so
I think is really fascinating. It almost doesn't matter. The message is the same. The message being that if you remind us of somebody who's had success in the past, we feel like we can use you.
Yes, or if we tell young girls that they remind us of someone, we instill a hope in them that actually allows us to abuse them. Because by them clinging to the hope that they look like Clara Bow or they look like Stevie Nicks or they look like Taylor Swift, it is that drive for them. And Taylor remembers feeling that.
Yes. And when you're a young, impressionable girl who has a dream of entering an industry for whatever reason, anything like that is going to very easily manipulate you into feeling that sense of hope or, just thinking that you've got a shot.
Yeah, and I think that's like that energy behind that. You look like Clara Bow in this light.
Oh, wow, this is surprising. I've never seen anyone like you before. Whereas, like, obviously she goes on to realize later that this is just what they do. It's a manipulation tactic. It's not even necessarily truthful.
So true. Especially in this light, I find interesting as well. It's like, in this light, you look like Clara Bow, remarkable. Like, it's just like a glimpse of someone or a side of someone. Or it could also be, you know, in the light, in the stage light. Clara Bow is an actress from the 20s, and she actually doesn't have a lot of films and things left because they've actually been destroyed. But she is known to be the first it girl.
There are so many connections between Taylor's life and Clara Bow's that when we all got this as a track name, there was a very different narrative that people clung to as to what they thought this song would be. We know that she became very successful in talking films when they first became a thing after silent films started being phased out. And people thought that that was going to be some sort of a connection to Taylor feeling like silenced in her previous relationship and stuff. And I find it so fascinating.
Well, she was one of the only actresses that survived the crossover from non-talking films to talking films. So people thought maybe that was symbolic of Taylor being silent and talking out, which is a really interesting take on that. It does make a lot of sense now, though, especially going back and learning more about Clara Bow, how much she got so much hate for just wanting to do things her own way, or wanting to speak up about certain things, or not wanting to be the girl that got married and settled down. A lot of links to that, I think, because she just moved through men and just did whatever she wanted to do. So I think that she was very different for that time. And people say she even inspired the whole flapper movement, which was women starting to wear shorter dresses and go out and be kind of
cut their hair for the first time.
Cut their hair, totally. She was really a pioneer for women in the industry in so many ways. And she actually lived a very tragic, sad life as well, which is what's really devastating about her story.
Also speaks volumes of the industry that Taylor is actually speaking about. I mean, she was an actress and obviously Taylor is a musician, so there's a difference there. But just being in entertainment and needing to kind of play a larger game, you don't get to just be yourself entirely or make your own decisions. You've kind of got to play by the rules of these men in power. Is a really big connection that I think was missed in trying to figure out what this song might be before we heard it for the first time.
And so obvious now.
So obvious now.
It actually makes so much more sense for it to be about Clara's experience in the industry and how the industry ruined her in a way, how the industry took this beautiful young innocent woman and I guess in a way made her feel like she was just churned up and spat out. And once she wasn't young anymore as well, like that narrative is very relatable for Taylor, feeling like they just get rid of you when you get to a certain point.
And that is really what the crux of this song is.
And it started with Clara Bow. Well, in Taylor's mind, she's tracing it back to when she feels like that started in the industry, and that might be the
kind
first
of
example.
is the beginning of the industry in a way, which is fascinating that she is starting us off with a 1920s film actress, because there was no recorded music and recorded visual long before then, you know? So it's a very new industry. So what she's really telling us with this first verse is that from the beginning, from the earliest stages that this industry existed, women have been exploited.
Absolutely. It's like the beginning of Hollywood.
So this verse is really interesting because it is all in quotations. It's just one person kind of saying this thing to a young woman or whatever. You look like Clara Bow in this light, remarkable. All your life, did you know you'd be picked like a rose?
I love that lyric.
Even just that all your life, did you know you'd be picked like a rose? That's just such a manipulative but like hope-inspiring thing to tell a young woman who you know wants this really, really badly. You will be picked. You would be picked. Obviously, it was always in your destiny almost.
And I also get like a darker meaning to it though as well. Like you'll be picked like a rose because a rose is beautiful, but inevitably that rose will die because it's been picked. True. It's this cycle, this vicious cycle of being beautiful and therefore people loving you and being attracted to you, but the result is detrimental.
Yeah, that's actually such an intelligent lyric, the way that she's written that, because it actually serves the exact purpose of, on face value, being something you want to hear, but on a deeper level, it actually meaning your own death.
Yeah, totally.
Verse 1 is kind of like some industry executive saying this to her or to a young woman, and the pre-chorus is their response.
I'm not trying to exaggerate, but I think I might die if it happened. Die if it happened to me. No one in my small town thought I'd see the lights of Manhattan.
You're right. It's absolutely that response to someone saying that she looks like Clara Bow. It's instilled the hope, and of course, this is how a young girl's going to respond. Oh my god!
I would die if that happened to me. I love the way that she's worded that because it does have such a youthful, excitable but naive energy to it.
Absolutely.
It's really amazing how she was able to like tap into that younger voice, or even her own younger voice, what she would have said or maybe did say in those early meetings when this is something that, I mean, this is true for her.
It is, absolutely.
We know from her whole story of starting out in the industry, and she did feel like she would die if that happened to her.
I'm not trying to exaggerate, but I think I might die if it happened to me. No one in my small town thought I'd see these lights of Manhattan. Because young girls want it this bad, they are blinded, or they can't possibly know how much that will impact them
Totally.
in the future. And that's what the industry relies upon.
And also, when they actually get some sort of attention from somebody in power, it's easy for them to just play along with what it is that they want from you, because they're worried the opportunity won't ever present itself to them again, which is why it's so easy to manipulate
and
these
abuse people in the industry, because they're literally telling them that this could happen to so many people, but it's happening to you, and you should feel lucky and you should feel grateful. The lucky one. I mean, that's the whole story of that is you should feel lucky, you should feel grateful, because that's what they tell you, even though it's such a fame is so soul destroying. And the industry benefits off that. It profits off selling a dream to young women especially. And Taylor is exposing that in this song.
Yeah.
She's literally saying how fucked it's always been.
Yeah.
And how devastatingly sad it is.
Yeah.
That this is the reality, because these girls start out with such hope, with such a dream, with such innocence, and they just can't believe this is happening to them.
Yeah.
Most of them come from a small town and they want to see their name in lights. And
I think it's so particularly interesting for somebody like Taylor to write this, because she grew up at a time and entered the industry at a time where women cracking at the seams from their experiences in the industry was at its most heightened. In the early 2000s, when you start seeing people like Britney shave her head, or, you know, Lindsay Lohan like stumbling out onto the streets drunk or on drugs.
the early 2000s was notoriously shocking for the way that we spoke about women. I think as well, though, women have always had this pressure on them. I mean, it's always the woman that ends up going a bit crazy, right? Like, I mean, it does happen with men sometimes. Like, I think Justin Bieber's a good example of that, like going off the rails publicly. But it does feel like it happens so much more with women. And I think because from way back then, they have this pressure on them that men don't have. And that was really obvious with Clara Bow and her dating history. People slut-shamed her. For going out and being with men, when that wasn't a question with men. Like, they could do whatever they want. And that's where that, I guess, that patriarchy really changes how women are treated in the spotlight, because they're not allowed to do the things that men are allowed to do. And when they try to, they're shamed and they're ridiculed.
I think it's also in the beauty standard of it, you know, like women have always been told that their worth is in their youth, and as they get older, you start clinging to those last shreds of your own beauty, because you know that the industry won't see you as valuable any longer as you age, and men don't have to deal with that. That's not a factor for them. Men grow into themselves, and we perceive them as being like attractive as they age, you know, growing into a man.
She does go into touch on so much in the choruses and throughout this whole song, and it's crazy how much Taylor is pulling up by just making these mere comparisons. Like, she's really not saying everything that we're saying right now, but she is.
But she is.
And that's why it's such a masterpiece of a song.
Yes, this is why she's
so
Taylor fucking Swift.
This town is fake, but you're the real thing. Breath of fresh air through smoke rings. Take the glory, give everything. Promise to be dazzling.
No, do you know what? It's so fascinating when you do take it as verse 1 being like the industry exec saying something to the young woman, the pre-chorus being the young woman's response, and the chorus is being the exec's further response. But it's almost like the chorus acts as the contract.
The wider mess. Yes, the wider mess. Yes, the wider idea of your career.
If we're going to actually give you this opportunity, this is what we expect from you.
So true.
It's actually fucked up.
And the fact that she fucking ends it with dazzling, promise to be dazzling, where she has compared herself to a mirror ball.
And she is bejeweled. No,
Oh
it's
my God.
a lot. This town is fake, but you're the real thing. Breath of fresh air through smoke rings. Take the glory, give everything. Promise to be dazzling.
So much.
Those first two lines are so interesting because I think that there's always been a perception of like LA or whatever as being kind of fake, very manufactured, whatever. But to be told that you're the real thing amongst all this fakeness is another sort of installation of hope.
It is. And
in those young women.
Absolutely. You're the real deal. I mean, that is a common thing said in the industry and said to people. You are different. You are special. You've got everything. You've got all the talent. And yeah, everyone's gonna fucking fuck you around. This place is fake, but you're gonna make it through that because you're that special.
Yeah.
Breath of smoke air through smoke rings.
Breath
of smoke air? Is that what I said? Breath of fresh air through smoke rings.
I find that such a good lyric because I think that throughout the industry, especially when you think back in like Clara Bow's day, you know, you do get an image of these executives sitting in an office like chain smoking away. They've got this aura of power and you know, it's a bit disgusting. They'll just sit there and smoke. They don't give a fuck about you, young girl. Like, I'm blowing my fucking smoke into your face. But I also think as well, when you're coming from a small town, entering the big
city,
smoke,
it's
smog. Like, you're the breath, this young breath of fresh air in this old, smoky, grinding city.
So true. Take the glory, give everything. That's almost that's the contract.
That's the contract, yeah.
We will give you fame and glory, and we will take everything from you. Mm-hmm. Oh, my God.
But so also, like, you can only expect the glory if you give everything you've got to this. You've really got to work hard to be worthy of that glory.
Promise to be dazzling is also that contract.
Yeah.
I also think the way that this song is so pretty is a really nice contrast to the actual darkness that she's exploring in it, because especially that chorus, this town is fake, but
it's like it's all from the perspective of that young woman before they know any better.
Absolutely. Yeah, they just perceive it as they don't really know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah.
And I like that because she kind of parks it there and then goes on to almost tell, you know, either a new story or that girl, like you said, it's going through the generations.
Yes.
And it's not really until the bridge that maybe you get some closure around how it's kind of going for all of these women.
Yes. It also, she gives you a lot of space here.
Yes. It's necessary to transition.
You look like Stevie Nicks in 75. The hair and lips, crowd goes wild at her fingertips. Half moonshine, a full eclipse.
Oh, I love these lyrics so much.
I think that everybody knows who Stevie Nicks is, but just in case you don't, she's a musician who came into fame when she and her boyfriend at the time, Lindsey Buckingham, joined the band Fleetwood Mac.
Which we will be doing deep dives into.
Oh, we will.
Soon. This year, I think.
This year, yes. That is the goal. We are obsessed with Fleetwood Mac. You know, the thing that's so interesting about Fleetwood Mac as a band is that they have always had multiple songwriters and vocalists, so not every song is sort of like, you know, lead singer, one person kind of thing. Like, Stevie really had an opportunity to show who she really was in Fleetwood Mac's music because she has a lot of the songs that are written and sung just by her. She's always embodied this long, beautiful blonde hair, witchy kind of vibe, and she became an icon because of that.
Yeah, very strong personality.
Yes.
Very much about the music. That was her life. She dedicated herself to the music. She never had a family or kids. She just was Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
And deeply, deeply iconic woman. You look like Stevie Nicks in 75. The hair and lips. Oh, I just love the way that this rolls off the tongue.
Yeah,
and I love that this person is really pointing out features in this other girl. Oh, you look like Stevie Nicks. The hair, the lips. Oh,
yeah.
You know, those are two signature kind of features of Stevie that they're comparing to this other girl.
But also features of Taylor, which is really fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, Taylor has made the blunt bangs and the long blonde hair, her look, and the only other woman I can think of who's really embodied that on a global scale because they're famous enough to have that audience is Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
Like, in a lot of ways, Taylor looks like she's kind of modeled her appearance off of Stevie, maybe not in the way she dresses.
I think Taylor's a lot more put together.
Yeah.
But absolutely, you can see how someone might have looked at Taylor's hair and lips and been like, oh my God, you remind me of Stevie Nicks.
Yes.
And that was like, Taylor feeling so... I mean, maybe even when Taylor had her more blonde curly hair as well, because Stevie's hair's a bit more messier.
It's wild.
It's wild,
yeah.
And then now this next lyric is kind of showing that power that Stevie Nicks had, almost to entice this girl. Crowd goes wild at her fingertips. Half moonshine, a full eclipse. Like, don't you want that? Don't you want that people to go wild at your fingertips?
Yeah.
I love the fingertips as well because it kind of gives witchy.
It does. And Stevie Nicks has such witch energy.
She does.
Something that I love as well is specifically the lyric half moonshine, because Stevie Nicks, for as long as one can remember, has always worn a necklace that is a crescent moon, and that is also the style of necklace that she gives to other young women in the industry. She's given Taylor one. We also know that she's given each of the Haim sisters one, and Alana wears hers all the time. Like, you barely see Alana Haim without her Stevie Nicks moon necklace. And so I love it because it's a half moon that Stevie has made her brand.
Totally.
And so for Taylor to think to include, I find it very fucked up.
I think I also said in the reaction, it reminds me of her tambourine.
Yes.
Because Stevie
the crescent moon
always
tambourine
carries a tambourine,
so
uses
true.
a tambourine when she's performing.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to kind of really dig into the lyric full eclipse means because I wonder, obviously the half moonshine I think is the reference to those two things, but I wonder if the full eclipse is like Stevie fully captured the world. Like an eclipse, you know? It's like she kind of stopped the world there.
I wonder if what she means by that line is that the light that this powerful woman exudes is so powerful that even when it's half of the moonshine, it has the capacity to fully eclipse the sun. Like, that's how powerful this woman's light is, or her fame.
I'm kind of getting like maybe that kind of similar to the first verse. You'd be picked like a rose, and then the second verse being half moonshine, a full eclipse. I wonder if it has a similar meaning of like positive, but it's actually got a darker meaning. Yeah. Like half moonshine, like, or a crescent moon is like just a part of the moon being shown.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but a full eclipse is it completely covering the sun and the moon is completely blacked out. So I wonder if that's also kind of showing that event, like at the moment you've got that shine, but it will actually fade. It will actually be blacked out or something like that shift.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what you guys take from that lyric.
Same. It's a very intriguing lyric.
No one in my small town thought I'd meet these suits in LA. They all wanna say this town.
Now we're in LA, not in New York.
So she is really saying the same thing in the pre-chorus, but just with different lyrics.
She just changed it to, instead of it happened, to made it. And now it's suits in LA.
Yeah, instead of the lights of Manhattan.
Yeah.
And I think what's also really interesting too is that she does end this pre-chorus with "they all want to say" into the chorus, which is that confirmation that that chorus is the response
people.
from the suits in LA, the industry execs, which she
Absolutely.
doesn't do in the first one. So I like that.
No, she's
I love
a
it
bit
when
more context.
Yeah. This is an add-on chorus.
It is superior add-on chorus.
Oh, it's so superior.
They promise to be dazzling. The crown is stained, but you're the real queen. Flesh and blood amongst war machines. You're the new god we're worshipping. Promise to be dazzling.
This add-on chorus is deeply concerning because I really feel like she's getting into the grit of it a little bit more.
Yeah, I completely agree.
She's actually saying how fucked up this industry is.
Yeah.
The crown is stained, but you're the real queen. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's kind of like this first admission from this powerful person that, like, maybe things haven't gone as well for these women in the past. The crown is stained, but ignore that.
Yeah.
You're the real queen. It'll work for you.
It'll be different for you.
It'll be different for you.
'Cause
You
you'll
won't
do
end
this.
up like these women who haven't survived our expectations.
Absolutely. Flesh and blood amongst war machines. Amongst war machines is crazy. Like this, like you're just a human, flesh and blood, and you're going up against war machines. To compare the industry to war machines is just so telling of how it operates and what it prioritizes. It's just winning and the outcome and the gain, and whatever they destroy in the process of that doesn't matter. And I think that as a human being, it's almost inevitable that you cannot survive in such an environment because you're just flesh and blood.
What's so interesting is, like, to be clear, I completely agree with your interpretation, but there's something about this add-on chorus that seems to almost compare the new woman to other women with the crown is stained, and even like you're the new god we're worshipping, like not like these other girls that we're no longer worshipping. They pit women against one another, and I wonder if there's any room to interpret it as though like these older women are the war machines.
But are they war machines because they've been through it and they've like almost gained this strength and this like a strong armor,
that, and also because maybe they can become brutal and mean. It's entirely spoken from that executive.
Yes,
so it's like, oh, beware of these old women who want to try and tear you down. Like, could maybe make you feel like they're on your side. They understand what the industry is, but they're going to protect you.
So true, I guess.
Like this one big scary bad boss they fully see it from your perspective. Like, oh yeah, this industry we're in, it's brutal, but babe, I've got your back. You're the new thing. So it's really just another manipulation tactic. It's like, oh, if you view this industry as being bad, if you see the crown is stained, don't worry, I've got you.
Yeah, that's so true. Genius is also saying it could be a reference to Big Machine Records, because obviously she's saying machine.
Yes, I think that's a really fucked up connection because Taylor was fucked over by the industry.
The machine.
Yeah, the machine.
And it says here, she was a real person fighting a massive label and she has come out victorious. Nevertheless, the pressure was on to continue to deliver in terms of her tour, future, etc.
So true.
Also, you're the new god we're worshipping, I think is meant to come across as this really beneficial thing that you're getting, like you will be worshipped like a god. But it's also has this, it's a very intense thing to say, and it has this layer of pressure to it, I think.
To be obsessed over, which Taylor Swift is, obviously, by us, is a bizarre thing to happen to a person, and no one's equipped for that.
No.
Even if you think that fame sounds great, no one really knows how to handle what that level of validation and the pressure that comes with that feels like.
That's what's so funny about some of the other songs on this album, like Who's Afraid of Little Old Me and stuff, because she actually is highlighting that no one else would have coped and dealt with the fame in the way that she has.
Totally.
And I think that people just don't get it, and she's trying to spell it out a little bit more in this song. But every lyric, every positive lyric is laced with this darkness.
Totally. Which again is the point, because it's somebody in this industry trying to convince you that it's all positive when it's not.
I love how every chorus ends with promise to be dazzling.
Yeah.
I just cannot believe how perfect that lyric is.
Yeah.
Beauty is a beast that roars down on all fours, demanding more. Only when your girlish glow flickers just so do they let you know it's hell on earth to be heavenly. Them's the breaks, they don't come gently.
This bridge is so fascinating because in some way she really is bringing it back to the only reason that women are churned and spat out is because their beauty fades.
Yeah.
Like, and linking it back to the fact that this doesn't happen to men. women's value in the industry is held in their youthfulness and in their beauty. So maybe if we didn't age, we'd be able to maintain being the it girl. And I think bringing it back to that is so fascinating because she's obviously touched on so many different elements of fame and the industry and stuff in this song, but that is really what it is.
Yeah. To attain the body and the beauty that so many women thought they needed to have, they really ruin themselves in a lot of way. They put the body under an extreme amount of pressure, and then they almost inevitably cannot maintain that.
No, absolutely.
That they end up putting on weight, changing in their looks, having alcohol, drug issues, like so many things because of the result of the abuse that they've been put through.
Everything that you were just saying is really held in that first line, which is just the most genius way to wrap this up.
I cannot believe she wrote this lyric.
Beauty is a beast that roars, down on all fours, demanding more. It's demanding more. Like, the point is that it does never end. Exactly like what you were saying. Like, every time you do the new thing that's going to make you look like young and youthful and like stop the aging process, then there's another thing you've got to do, you know? And we still see it today. Like, fucking TikTok and shit is just flooded with, oh, use this skincare and go and get Botox and fillers and use an LED fucking mask. It never ends.
It never ends.
You can do everything right and you will age regardless.
It's impossible standard to be held to. This is one of those lyrics that from the moment I heard it, I cannot believe she wrapped it into these words.
Absolutely.
It is just down on all fours, like the power of this beast demanding more. It's a beast because it's absolutely unattainable, untamable.
But do you know what's so interesting about this? I get two different images with this line. The beast and the roar, it gives you this concept of like a lion, like an animal on all fours. But also I think being on all fours as a human, it's lacking strength. Well, which I think actually plays into this as well. It's like you're being crushed by this standard that you're pushed down onto all fours. You can't even stand up straight and be confident in who you are anymore. No. You are being broken, essentially.
And it's desperate. It's
desperate. It's begging on all fours kind of thing. Absolutely. Yeah, so it's both. And then going into only when your girlish glow flickers just so do they let you know. It obviously is running off the first line because the point is to maintain your girlish glow, the youthful, young energy that you once had, which you'll never get again. But when it just starts flickering, it's not even when it's gone, it's when it just starts flickering, do they let you know that you're not it anymore? Yeah. Like, it's not even like hey, we want to let you know that this might happen, like we want to give you adequate warning. There is no warning.
Yeah, which he does go on to kind of talk about, but that lyric flicker is so fascinating because when a light flickers, the light still stays on, but it's just a glint. Just for a second, when they see something in you that's you're not that young girl anymore.
Yeah.
And it goes on to say the breaks, they don't come gently. So like you were kind of saying, it's just immediately
halting.
No. She kind of thought that she would only have this fame as long as people viewed her to be this young, beautiful woman. And then obviously her fans love her music so powerfully that it does transcend that industry power.
Yeah, like, I mean, you and I can confidently say that Taylor's aging only excites us. Like, we can't wait to see the wisdom and what she has to say to us when she's a 50-year-old woman. Like, that's so but of course it's valuable to us because we understand the pressures of being a woman.
But we're growing with her. Yes. And I think that's the difference between, I guess, our connection and a lot of Swifties' connection to her music is we've grown up with her and we will continue to grow with her because of her vulnerability and the way that she's allowed us to connect with her music is we want to keep growing. And I think that's why it's so powerful that Taylor can write a song like this and then continue to change that outro to be about herself, is because she has transcended this mold.
It makes it, the fact that she has done that makes it even more important that she's the one
that's
shedding a light on this narrative. Absolutely. Because she has gotten to a point in her career where at least I hope she understands that her fans see so much value in her and what she's doing. what she looks like has nothing to do with what any of us love about her.
No. I also love that lyric, it's hell on earth to be heavenly, which I skipped over before. It's hell to have to keep up these standards of the beauty and of being innocent and sweet and beautiful. Like, it's
just to be constantly striving for this is hell, even though I look like heaven I put all this effort into maintaining my youth.
It's just such a clever way of wording it. It's hell on earth to be heavenly.
The interesting thing about this bridge is it's the only part of the song not in quotations, because it's the first time she gets real for a moment. Like, everything is from this angle of like this naive young woman or the person talking to her and trying to manipulate her. The bridge is the only part that is like, these are my wise words.
Yeah. Once I've been through that.
Yes, with the hindsight that I have.
And that's kind of what I said before, like the first two verses are just these little stories that we get put in place, and then the bridge is that reveal of how these women feel over the years. I guess in a way what that impact is, because the first parts of the song are just setting you up for that fame and the enticement of it. So that's what makes it such good storytelling, because we get the excited energy of getting into the industry, and there kind of is an energy like there is a cost, but then you don't really know that cost until the bridge.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
all the story kind of unravels.
You look like Taylor Swift in this light. We're loving it. You've got edge. She never did. The future's bright, dazzling.
The emotion builds when she finally reveals and says Taylor Swift, and that's where I lose it every time, because especially after the confession of the bridge, the confession of how devastating this whole process is, and then to finally reveal that she's now a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So fucked up that she brings herself into it at the end. That was deeply not obvious.
No.
It's kind of a fucking slay move, because what she's actually also saying is, I know I am it right now. I am at the top of my game, and the industry knows that. The industry knows that the best way to manipulate you is to compare you to me.
Yeah. She doesn't want to be used as a pawn in the industry to inspire young women for them to continue to make them money.
Yeah.
She wants other young women in the industry to learn from her and to follow in her footsteps.
Yes.
But not to be used to make them more money.
Don't play by their game. I'm telling you, you will be compared to me, and that you shouldn't listen to that.
Yeah.
I think what's fascinating is that you could almost argue that maybe she's not transcended this, and she's almost accepting of the fact that like it will happen to her. She will be replaced, but it's almost like maybe in her own personal life she's come to terms with that, and it's still just a warning for other people. I love how she says in this outro, "You've got edge." She never did. I just think that's the perfect way to sum up the opposite of Taylor Swift, because I think that that's always been such a problem that she's faced in her career. Like, people think she's too girly, she's too sweet, she's too young, she's too heartbroken, she dates too much, all of these things. That's not edgy, that's not cool. She's always been the uncool girl. So to have a new female enter the industry who reminds them of Taylor Swift but is cool.
But got edge. You know, it also does remind me of like Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah.
I think that like that is exactly what you picture with Olivia. She was exactly like the energy of Taylor, but she had edge.
Yeah.
And that's what they were looking for. That's what the industry is looking for, is they're trying to replicate Taylor because she is so impactful, and that's what people want now. They want people that are writing their own music, and that is Taylor's impact as well. You know, it actually always reminds me of when I think it's on America's Got Talent, when that Grace Vanderwalden, do you remember her?
Vanderwall,
yeah. When Simon says to her, "You're the next Taylor Swift," that really stuck with me then, and that was years ago.
Yeah.
That you could see the glint in his eyes.
Yeah.
The excitement. You could also see the emotion that overcame her when he said that.
Yeah.
That she felt like she had that much promise to be dazzling. Like,
that's such a perfect example of like him being somebody who discovers talent, essentially.
Yes.
Like, he's seeing purely through a profitable lens of like, oh my God, I think I might have just stumbled on the new Taylor Swift. This is going to be great for me.
I mean,
which is what this song is.
Yeah.
Yes, that is what this
That
is.
is
It's
exactly
like,
that moment
of
playing
course
out.
there's excitement for the industry exec. Thinks that they have just hit the jackpot by finding this person.
Yeah.
It's just as exciting for them as it is for the young girl who wants that chance, but for just such entirely different reasons.
And I think that's why that Edge lyric hits so hard as well. Finding Taylor Swift with a small difference.
Yeah.
With that one thing that Taylor Swift didn't have.
Yeah.
We're always searching for it. We're just searching to recreate these women, to
Yeah.
replace these women, to keep the machine turning. It's fucking genius. I will never... You expect me to understand this song and break it down? How she wrote this? This is perfection.
I'm excited for her to continue exploring narratives like this into the future, like as her relationship with fame and the industry continues to evolve, or as she just discovers new things about it when she looks back at her own upbringing and her own career. Like, these sorts of songs from her are always so fascinating. As you said, starting right from the beginning with like The Lucky One and Nothing New,
Yeah.
and then going into narratives like Blank Space and Shake It Off and all of that. Like, she's since the beginning of her storytelling of what it is for her to be in this industry and to have media speculation and all of that, like, her commentary on that is always just so fascinating, and I just can't wait to see how her wisdom in that area grows and how she shares that with us.
Totally, and I'm just so grateful that she's continued to be in this industry all these years, to give us this music and to give us this joy at the cost of her own... the cost of being in this fucking machine.
Yeah.
No, this is one of the songs where, like, I know we've spoken for an hour and a half, but I feel like I haven't
Said enough.
I have not expressed the superiority.
Yeah.
Like, it's like there's never enough. It's not enough.
So fucking perfect and so deeply not obvious.
So deeply not
for
obvious.
this to be the way that she tells this story.
Yes.
Like, she could have spelt this out so much more obviously. Like, oh my God, men tell you that you look like Clara Bow, but it's actually because they're just manipulating you. She's saying that without saying that.
Yeah, she always knows how to tell the story so perfectly, and almost in a way that's just, it's never like, I don't know, it's never like poor me, or like, I don't know, the way she tells it is just, it's so factual that she almost lets you decide how to feel about this song. She's not telling
doesn't
you
spell it
how
out, obviously.
to feel. And I think a lot of the songs on Tortured Poets are like that. Like, they are very factual, and you kind of get to make up your own mind about it. Like, even the Bolter's a bit like that. Like, I guess we'll have to stop talking now.
Yeah.
But just know,
It's a deeply superior song, and there's not enough praise to be giving this song. So, you know.
We love this song. Oh my God.
We do.
It's
amazing.
Thank you, Taylor, for giving us this superior song. Guys, love you guys.
Love you guys.
See you soon for another video.
Bye.
Bye.